Hey everyone, and welcome to my Remastered tutorial on Asgard's Fantasy Map Generator. In this video, I will be going over the core features to build an understanding of what makes a good map, as well as the steps needed to create a map completely from scratch. I want to get you started as quickly as possible, so I've made this video series as a concise way for you to understand every aspect of this mapping software. Skip to this timestamp if you want to just see how to create your own custom map from scratch. Alright, so first thing is you can load up this program just by googling Azgaar. When it first loads, you will be greeted with a pre-generated map complete with all the elements offered by this generator. You can save any map you like as a .map file, which is the file type that this generator reads and loads from. Save .map files by selecting Machine in the Save menu. You can also save to Dropbox if you have one set up. Saving to browser does not save a physical .map file on your computer, but this caches the map in your browser instead so that it can be automatically loaded. By going to Options and On Load Behavior, you can select Open Last Saved Map to load your map instantly from the browser. This is also where autosaves go. If you want to turn off autosaving to prevent overwriting your browser saved map, you can also set the interval in the options to 0 minutes. Also remember that this save is easy to lose if you ever clear your browser cache, so it's a good idea to keep a .map file via machine save as a backup. The most important thing about your map is how you can view it, of which there are many ways. This is provided by the Layers menu, which dictates which elements of your map are visible at any given time. Here you can select and deselect different options which show different parts of the map. These range from terrain to political to supplemental stuff like roads and grid coordinates. There are some presets provided which already look pretty good. Notice how these layers are only compatible for as far as they are transparent. Let's say you want to see the height map, provinces, and cultures all at once. This looks terrible, but if you want to save it as a new preset, you can do so by clicking the plus button and typing in a new preset like this. You can customize how quite literally everything looks through the Style menu, including layer transparency. I go over the Style menu in a bit more detail in my part 4 video of the series. Lastly, you can view your map as a standard 2D image or shift it to a 3D or globe view. Do note that the globe view is entirely reliant on your settings in the Configure World menu, found under Options. I do briefly want to cover the Units menu, found under Tools. Units have no bearing on your map whatsoever. They are simply parameters that display distance, altitude, temperature, and population. You might see these units referred to in many places when making your map, but I want to clear up possible confusion and let you know that these are set by you and are essentially a scale of the standard unit in Asgard's Fantasy Map Generator. For example, changing the distance per pixel does not change the actual distance between cells. Likewise, the generator assigns population points to each cell and burg. These points are then amplified by how much you deem each point to be worth. Now on to physically editing your map. Before making a new map, you should first consider points number found in Options. Points number determines the number of cells present on the map. Cells are the most basic unit of Asgard's generator. They determine the shape of everything and hold all the data in your map. The default points number is 10,000 and you can increase it all the way up to 100,000 cells. Raising the points number makes all the cells smaller by comparison, which means you can add even more detail throughout your map. It is important to note that adjusting your points number only impacts new maps upon generation, and that higher points numbers can cause lag. If you ever struggled with your map feeling too small, points number is your answer as it allows you to refine terrain and make distances feel greater. It is possible to preserve your current map while increasing the points number. By navigating to Tools, Transform, you can take your current map and increase the cell count. Just be sure to keep a backup of your map in case of data mismatches. Then when it comes to actually editing the landmass, height maps is the tool you need. When selecting height map, you must select how you want the current data to behave. Erase will erase all the data and regenerate over the new landmass based on your settings in the options menu. Keep will keep all the data in the cells and prevent you from editing the coastlines, as coastline editing will naturally change biome and river data. Risk, on the other hand, will do just that, as it allows you to edit your coastlines and will change biome and river data where the height map has been altered. I'm going to go with erase here. Here in the height map editing, you paint with different brush tools to raise or lower land. Asgard's height map works on a range from blue to green to red, with below sea level at blue to the tallest mountains at red. The height map is what determines the mountains, oceans, lowlands, and everything in between on your map. While rivers generate based on your height map, you do not directly edit them here. You can save your changes now by clicking Exit Customization. Now that you have your landmass, the next step is customizing the biomes. I always do this after height map editing, as any changes you make to the height map run the risk of changing and even resetting the biomes that you customized. Biomes determine the environment of your map and also help determine how a lot of features interact, such as how cultures and states expand. Under the Tools menu, under Configure, click Biomes. If it's been a while since you've learned about what a deciduous forest is, there are these small wiki-linked buttons that conveniently provide you with information about which biome is which. The default biome arrangement relies heavily on your settings in the Configure World menu. I cover this menu in more detail in part 2 of this series. You can paint biomes just like you did with landmass, and then when you're done, click the checkmark to confirm changes. To begin mapping the political landscape, I recommend starting with cultures, as they determine the name generation for everything through what are called name bases. Of course, all names and labels can be overwritten with your own customization. However, name bases are a cache of names based on pre-existing real-world and fantasy cultures, such as Greek, Roman, Nordic, Swahili, as well as orcs, goblins, elves, and so on. These help add a lot of built-in variety to your map. You can also add name bases of your own. You can add or delete cultures at will, and paint the map to show where each culture is present. The generator does not take into account if, say, one city is 40% one culture and 60% another, it only shows the dominant culture in each cell. Once you have set up your cultures, you can begin to add states. States can represent anything from republics to kingdoms to empires. The number of starting states is determined by your selection in the options menu. Same goes for cultures. I should add that you can lock these options to prevent them from changing each time you generate a new map. To add a new state, it's just like with cultures. Click on Tools, States, and then click the plus button. You can click anywhere on the map to spawn a state, along with its capital, or click on an existing burg to make it a capital of the new state. Hold Shift to add multiple new states. Now you can select the state in the menu and change its color, its name, form type, and culture. You can edit its borders by clicking on the paintbrush icon and selecting the state from the menu, or by clicking directly on it on the map. You can then proceed to paint the borders to however you please. If you click on this gear icon and enable auto change state labels, the state's label will also change to fit the optimal position. You can, of course, change the label yourself as well. With that, you should be fully equipped to create a basic map from scratch. You can lastly export the current window view of your map as an SVG, PNG, or JPEG. So if you zoom out all the way, you can capture a full image of your map. This scale bar here determines the detail of the saved image. The higher the detail, the more zoomable the image will be, but also the more space it will take up. You can also export into a GeoJSON to be used in a more professional mapping software like GIS or QGIS, as well as JSON if you want to integrate it into another software program. Alright, and now for the best part of this program, which isn't the completely random maps, but the wealth of features that are combined in such a way as to allow you to create your own map and add depth and history to it at the same time. I will begin with setting a points number at 60k, as I find a good balance between detail and performance. Next, I will turn on the cultures, states, provinces, and religions numbers to 0 in the options menu to ensure that I get a blank database. I will leave towns to auto so that the generator naturally places towns and cities on a scale that fits best with my new landmass. I also just find it tiring to place down every single town and city, especially for larger scale maps. Now on to height map. I will pick erase, choose lower elevation brush, and set radius and power to max to quickly erase the current landmass. I'll mention really quick that there's an image import feature on the left where you can upload any map you've made yourself or any image from the web as a quick option to set the height map. I covered this feature in depth in part 2. Next, I will pick a brush that raises terrain and begin to paint my map. If you're aiming for a realistic map, it's good to keep in mind the ideas of plate tectonics and how landmasses can fit together like puzzle pieces, like South America and Africa. Tectonics is a good way to make your mountains and coasts feel more natural, but this is a fantasy map, so nothing is stopping you from making your own rules. Next step is customizing the biomes, though the generator usually does a pretty good job at realistic biome generation based on the world generation menu. As a reminder, I provide a full walkthrough of this configuration menu in part 2. Now that biomes are settled, time to set up the cultures so that we have a name base for the states and burgs we want to spawn. I'm going to make the eastern half Greek and the western half Iranian/Persian. When you place down the culture, the dot in the center is the origin of the culture, from which it will expand based on its expansionism value. I will opt for this route instead of drawing the cultures myself. If all cultures are set to 1, you should be seeing an even distribution when you click the recalculate button. Raising the expansionism value in one culture makes it more likely to be competitive and grow versus other cultures. The burgs that were auto-generated have not had their names updated to reflect the new Greek and Iranian influences. Therefore, we need to go to the burgs menu under Tools and click the Regenerate button to reassign names to every burg reflecting the new cultures we've placed. Now to placing the states. Since I have no specific country or empire in mind, I'm just going to hold shift and place a bunch of them down. This shift mechanic works for everything that uses the plus button, by the way. I also don't want to paint over the map for the sake of brevity, so I'll go to the regeneration menu to randomize their expansion and automatically paint their territory. Don't forget to turn on auto change state labels. And just like that, my map is complete and already has a lot of depth to it. To add more, it is the same way with to add religions, zones, and provinces. There are also systems of militaries, diplomacy, roads, coat of arms, and lots of other tools that I will touch on in later videos of this series. Lastly, I'd like to bring your attention to the About panel, which actually has a lot of helpful resources, some of which you've probably already accessed to even view my video in the first place. But from here, you can access the GitHub, which explains all the source code and actually you can contribute to as well. You can also access a written tutorial, a lot of which I have already covered in this guide, as well as Q&A section for features and what to do if say your map is not working properly. There's also my video series, which you're already watching, as well as hotkeys, and also a Discord server and a Reddit community. I highly recommend accessing the Discord if you want to get your questions answered as fast as possible. There's also the dev board, which is a Trello page where you can keep up to date with the current and future updates of the program, as well as a changelog where you can actually access prior versions of the generator. You can, of course, also email and contact Azgaar directly. Also, there's a link to support Ukraine, as well as Armoria and Deorum, which are 2 other programs that Azgaar has created. Armoria covers a heraldic coat of arms generator, while Deorum is a customizable fantasy characters generator. I have tutorials to both of these on my channel as well. That's all for now, though, and thank you for watching.